Welcome back to Big Mouth and welcome to Monday's edition of the dceu Daily. Wonder Woman 1984 is now verified rotten over at Rotten Tomatoes, and Arrow and the Canaries will not be going forward at the CW, and we'll be talking about certain points that superfan Scott Edwards has brought to me. Some Supergirl fan work, some Joker movie questions as well, so we'll be doing that a little bit later on today's edition of the dceu Daily. Remember, you can tag me on Twitter and follow me on Twitter at Movies TV Mad. Yes, so Wonder Woman 1984, sadly and tragically, is now rotten over at Rotten Tomatoes, and it really doesn't surprise me. I mean, we really all felt that Patty Jenkins was Team Zack Snyder, that she was on board that vision, and that actually she was very much responsible for the vision and execution of Wonder Woman 2017. Listen, when you compare Wonder Woman 2017 to Wonder Woman 1984, it just doesn't work. That duck doesn't hunt, right? And when you have a director removing one of the best VFX teams in the business, Zack Snyder's VFX team is second to none in the industry. The only other one that comes close to it is George Lucas's VFX team at ILM. So why does she do this? It seems she was very bitter and angry that certain things she wanted to happen in Wonder Woman 2017 didn't happen. And in fact, she didn't like Alan Heinberg's and Zack Snyder's vision for the movie. And it seems for me the original pick of Michelle McLaren would have been better. And the question has to be asked why Michelle was removed. What were the creative differences there? But obviously there could have been similar creative differences, or maybe the studio didn't actually want to go as dark as she wanted. So we'll never know. But I mean, Wonder Woman 2017 is such a good film that it would have been near impossible to make a better sequel. But then again, Batman Begins is one of the best origin comic book movies of all time, but The Dark Knight is even better, although I think Batman Begins is better than The Dark Knight. That's just my opinion, and it's not a popular opinion at that. So Wonder Woman 1984 has many problems. One of them is that Patty Jenkins decided to make a film that looked like it was made in the 80s. She's obsessed. She's obsessed with Donna. Let's look at the mouse sequence. The mouse sequence really is a rip-off to the opening of Superman 3. Now, if you remember rightly, if you've seen Superman 3, you know, Superman saves the day. There's a man being, he's drowning in a car. Superman rips off the roof. There's lots of comedic moments where Clark sees that really gorgeous blonde who's actually one of the villains in the film later on. She's Ross Webster's girlfriend. He gets distracted. He gets the custard pie, and it's a great move. What's actually funny about the Superman 3 opening sequence is how funny it is and how it works in a great way. Now, as much as that works, the mouse sequence in Wonder Woman 84 simply doesn't work. First of all, we're not in the 80s anymore. Nobody asked for this. This doesn't tickle... The mouse sequence... Look, this doesn't tickle anyone's taste. The mouse sequence is terrible. From the moment I saw that kind of, let's say, tubby villain, when she pushes him through the thing and he's going, oh, I'm thinking, this is terrible. It's not funny. It doesn't work. And then when you see the guy holding the kid off the balcony, I mean, Hans Zimmer's music is so over the top. It's great music. It just doesn't suit that horrible moment. It's an unjustified moment. I mean, he's not even that trapped by the police at the time when he's holding the kid. And then you've got the guy going, no! Look, basically, it's a moment trying to embarrass men. That's all I can gauge from the commentary she's trying to make here. She has a look, I don't know how old she is. I think she's about 38. And I'm 48. I don't think she can remember the 80s very well. The 80s was actually a lovely time. I don't know what it was like in America, but when I grew up, even though Margaret Thatcher was Prime Minister over in the UK, it was a fabulous time with the greatest movie makers, with the greatest actors. You can't even compare the actors and directors we had then to the ones that we had now. They're all bums. And, to think that we all credited Wonder Woman 2017 to Patty Jenkins. And you can tell she's bitter about what happened in the first film because she said so, even though the other day she tried to backtrack, because she is very close to losing her job and the great opinions that everyone in the industry has of her. Because she's got a lot of blue ticks coming out defending her, telling her it's a wonderful movie, and she's thanking a lot of people over on Twitter. So either these are paid people that are coming in to try and save her embarrassment, or these people actually believe Wonder Woman 84 is a brilliant movie. Wonder Woman 84 has certain good moments, but one of the things that was really hurting this film was the VFX. Now, people have criticised the opening sequence in Themyscira. Actually, I think that actually looks half decent. And I tell you what, it actually makes you think that opening sequence that we're going to get a film as good as the first one, because one of my favourite things about the first film is the sequences on Fantasy Island. I think it's very emotional to see young Diana played by the ever-present Lily Aspel. That kid is just an amazing performer. Hopefully she grows up to be a great actor and doesn't burn out. I hope they look after her and protect her. Protect her or I'll come after you, all right? She's adorable, right? She's a great kid. She's very talented. And having her in the opening is brilliant. I think what's interesting about the first film, we spend about, 30, 45 minutes on that island? We spend, about 5-7 minutes on it, and not much happens. I mean, it's a great sequence. It's beautiful. And seeing Diana, in the Amazonian Olympics, cheating and all of that and being taught a lesson, I think is wonderful. But they kind of rush through it. Maybe it would have worked out better if they spent as much time on the island as they did in the first film, and then go to 84. And then you look at 1984, where she's trying to get away from 1918 as quick as possible, which I've said this before. Basically, she hampers the possibility of the supporting cast of characters coming back. And I'm surprised because they were one of my favourite things about that film. And so the film has a horrible second act, a boring second act. I love Chris Pine, Steve Trevor in the first film, but it just didn't feel like Steve Trevor, did it? I don't know, it just felt like Chris Pine mucking about, didn't it? And that's a shame. Again, none of that really worked. And then I think when the film started the Pedro Pascal stuff, forget what people are saying, the Pedro Pascal stuff is wonderful. That's one of the best things of the movie. This is a desperate man who's trying to prove to his son that he's not a loser and he owes a lot of money, and he's just trying to, out of desperation, he hunts down this rock. Look, I think we can say this wishing rock may sound good on the script, but it's a very weak kind of plot device, and that's what it is, a plot device. So the whole film really just what the film basically wants to do is not do very much in the first two acts and then kind of win you over in the third act. Now, I don't agree that the third act of Wonder Woman 2017 is bad. I think it's amazing. It's emotionally satisfying, and it's a pretty good fight. That's my opinion, by the way. And I think Ares talking as he's fighting her, trying to, seduce her to the dark side, is wonderful. I think it really works. I think the emotional climax in Wonder Woman 84, the third act, is probably the best part of the movie. It works. Her lecture to Maxwell Lord is great. It works. But when that film's over, and near the end when she's in the snow with that guy, who was Chris Trevor, Steve Trevor, then you're kind of looking, someone said it, Hallmark. And it does look like a Hallmark ending. And it's just a very odd, plotted out movie. And when I was talking to you people about this before, I was being a bit of a shill. I wasn't being, I suppose, as honest as I could have been about the movie, because I'm a DC fan. And I want to like things that maybe I know are not as good as they should be. Jesus Christ, at times I've watched Justice League and said, well, it's all right, innit? It's part of the DCEU. There's some good moments, and then you move on. But the truth is, that's just a fan. That's just a biased fan. not wanting to accept that there's, elements in this franchise that simply don't work. And that's what Wonder Woman 84 is. It's a hiccup. It's a hiccup. You just can't do that. And she can't, Patty Jenkins was never going to get away with this because we saw the first one. The first one, as I say, is a fucking sonnet. It's a beautiful film. Everything's brilliant. It's perfection. So you can't deliver that. If Patty Jenkins truly believes that's the way you do a film, then I worry about her future. And, Lucasfilm and Kathleen Kennedy should be very, very concerned about what she's going to do with Rogue Squadron. Because I don't know. Who actually made Wonder Woman 2017? That has to come under question now. Because I know people don't like hearing negativity about DC films. I've come on here screaming about the negativity from Ray Fisher and all the kind of creatives. And I stand by that. But I have to be honest about this film. It's not the worst film of all time. It's not the worst CBM ever. But a sequel should pack a punch. And this sequel simply doesn't pack a punch. It is similar to The Last Jedi, where it's very underwhelming and you wonder what they can do with a third movie. I think right now, her doing a third movie is under threat. I genuinely believe this. I think it's totally under threat. And even though it's been announced by Toby Emmerich, and I know that Toby Emmerich went to her way into the development process of this film and tried to say to her, we kind of feel that maybe this film doesn't pack a punch, and she wasn't having it. And she was kind of saying, are you interfering with my vision? And he said, no, we're just trying to advise you. And she wouldn't listen. They let her do her thing. It's the same with Birds of Prey at the end of the day. Margot Robbie simply wouldn't listen. And a couple of weeks ago, she actually admitted that there's no plans at this moment in time to do another Birds of Prey movie, which is a shame because the Birds of Prey graphic novels are awesome. So if someone can actually do something with Harley Quinn and the Birds of Prey, I mean, wow. I mean, it just doesn't make sense. But sometimes you can give the wrong people creative freedom. And I think with the conversations of Zack Snyder not having enough creative freedom with Justice League and him being removed from the project, I think people started to think that everyone deserves creative freedom. And I think this is why Kevin Feige does such a great job over at the MCU. He knows what directors to leave alone and what directors to keep a watchful eye over. By the way, Kevin Feige has found the Doctor Strange writer as a Star Wars movie writer. Wow! So Kevin Feige's actually producing his Star Wars film, which has nothing to do with DC. Just thought I'd mention it, so that'd be interesting. Look, it's a weird time for pop culture right now. I don't know if they're ever going to get Star Wars completely right. The Mandalorian is great, but at the end of the day, one piece of content doesn't make it a whole franchise. Anyway, so Wonder Woman 84, very disappointing, and I would absolutely bring someone on to that project. If she doesn't want to be policed and if she wants to do everything herself, she's going to have to be removed again. I don't think she's nailed down to do that movie. And as I've said before, where does this leave Gal Gadot? Very, very interesting. Yes, Scott Edwards has been in touch, and this is a brilliant piece of artwork for Supergirl. Scott looks really, really cool, and I really like it. She's wearing her jeans, though. What? Is that because she's getting changed into Supergirl? I don't know. Anyway, this is what Scott's got to say about this. At Movies TV Mad, also here's some awesome artwork of Melissa as Supergirl. I totally think after her show on the CWN, she will come back for crossovers and guest roles. And I also think she'll get her own movie or limited series on HBO Max. What about you? We're going to have to wait and see about that. I don't know what the plans are right now. There's so many plans to focus on the DC Extended Universe, so I'm not sure what she's going to do. She may get some projects. She may do crossovers with Arrowverse. It's interesting to see how long Arrowverse will survive now. So we'll have to wait and see on that. Scott also says, at Movies TV Mad, a great question for the DCEU Daily. What exactly do you think the ending scene of Joker means? Is it in the future and Bruce has become Batman? Will we ever see Arthur Fleck's Joker? interact with the other DC characters. Look, we're talking about Joaquin Phoenix here, so it's going to be very, very difficult to get him involved. I don't know. I've heard rumours he's signed a multiple contract to do multiple projects, which would include crossovers, but I don't know. Looking at Joaquin, he's a critically acclaimed actor, and personally, I think it's going to be very difficult to get him to be part of the DC multiverse strategy, as much as I would love that. So we'll have to wait and see. Now, if there's going to be another Joker movie, I think there will be. I think there's been rumblings. I think it's going to take some time, but we will see eventually. When a movie makes over $1 billion, normally studios bite for more. As I say, Todd Phillips and Joaquin Phoenix aren't just going to come back and, rush a script. They're going to take their time, sit down and talk about what they can do next. When is that set? What does it mean? Well, the problem is we don't know if it's all a fantasy, so we don't know if it's real. But at the end of the day, if it is real, he's basically talking to that psychiatrist straight after what we've seen, and then he obviously kills her and he's about to escape. I think that's happened very close. So he escapes, maybe he remains underground, maybe nobody knows where he is, and he comes back and fights an older Bruce Wayne Batman in the future. We're going to have to wait and see for that. Definitely. I love the Joker. What a film that was, Scott. What commentary on depression and mental illness it was. I mean, it really was a beautiful film, and I really don't understand why SJWs hated it, but this is the environment we are in right now. And talking of Arrowverse, because we were, kind of, basically, Canaries, what is it called? I forgot the name. Arrow, that's it. Let's start again. Arrow and the Canaries, that's it, will not be going forward at the CW. Now, to be honest with you, I am ecstatic about this. Listen, this was the decision for them. They made this decision ages ago. This is not news, but they decided to announce it yesterday. So they had a decision, Superman and Lois or Arrow and the Canaries. It was always going to be Superman and Lois. They made a big mistake not having a Superman show as the first show, or at least a second show, or even the show that came in instead of Supergirl. But they didn't do that. So Superman has been cameoing on Supergirl and on the crossovers like Crisis for a while now. He needed his own show. Superman is the biggest, most important character that DC have. And no one is going to convince me that he doesn't deserve his own show and, a multiple franchise of movies. So it was that decision. And they did send Arrow and the Canaries, if that's what it's called, to test screenings and test audiences, and they simply found it boring. They found the actors didn't have much chemistry, and they also felt the plot wasn't really going anywhere. They just weren't embracing the characters. Quite simply, when they were asked if you could change one thing about it, what would it be? And the audiences unanimously said, we bring Oliver Queen to it. And so there lies the problem. The problem is that I think they shouldn't have cancelled Arrow, but they're cancelling a lot of shows. Maybe they're rolling up the Arrowverse. I don't know. But Arrow being cancelled first seems ridiculous to me. I mean, he went out a great way. But I'm going to read you something that Paigey said, a very, very big Arrowverse fan. So this is what Paigey had to say about all of this. I will never forgive the thought of making Green Arrow and the Canaries, that's what it was called, a thing. It wasted half of Arrow's final season. Every episode that had nothing to do with setting up the spin-off was amazing. Every episode attached to setting it up was far from amazing. DCTV hashtag. I agree. How dare they? How dare they? This was Oliver Queen's final season. The character that started off the whole of the Arrowverse. And they disrespected the character and his world and his supporting characters by doing this. Because they knew this show wouldn't work unless people could see it had something to do with Arrow. But this simply was never going to work. Basically, they wanted a female-led show, and that's fine. Everyone should get their place to shine, right? Everyone, all genders, all walks of life, as long as they've got the talent to do it and people want to see them doing it. But the point being here, they threw this together. It made no sense whatsoever. The characters didn't work. It was boring. It was never going to fly. Now, I know a few fans wanted this to happen desperately, but it was never going to happen. And how dare they? How dare they put this in, link this in and set this up during a final season of the most kick-ass, Arrowverse character, Green Arrow. Stephen and Mel deserved better. And I'm sure Stephen wasn't happy about that either. I think the best thing they can do if they've got the space and the budget is just bring Arrow back. I don't care how you bring him back. He's already said he's up for it. I think don't bring him back to Arrowverse. Do something on HBO Max with him. Make it as hardcore as the first 2 seasons were, because that was fucking amazing. So it is a shame, but I am happy. I think it's a beautiful thing knowing this show isn't going to happen. I always knew it wasn't going to happen. It just wasn't strong enough. And even the CW can't put something out that not one person wants to see. They chose Superman and Lois, and that was absolutely the right decision. Comment down below. Like, share, and subscribe. And I'll be back tomorrow with even more DCEU Daily. But before I go, last thought. Ray Fisher. This week, or last week, because it's Monday now, I'm not recording this on Monday, I'm recording this on Saturday, by the way, just to let you know, just in case I've missed a big story, we will get there, don't worry about that. So, yeah, Ray Fisher has been exposing information, talking about Walter Hamada, calling him a dangerous individual. Let's go to Henry Cavill. Henry Cavill hasn't been Superman for nearly 4 years now. He lost his job, basically. Have you ever heard Henry Cavill attack anyone? No. Henry Cavill was promoting the Mission Impossible Fallout movie and trying to find a way to get that director of that movie to help him make a Man of Steel sequel. It was a very positive thing to do. Now, Warner Brothers rejected that idea, and that's a shame, and that just sums Warner Brothers up, that old regime, certainly. But at least Henry tried to do it in a positive way, and he's still trying to do it that way. And we'll see what happens with Henry. But I just wanted to show you before I went today the difference, where you can make a positive difference and you don't have to start arguing and being negative on social media like Ray's doing. And what Ray's actually doing, he's putting people's backs up. And what Henry's doing, he's being charming and being what Henry is, just a geek who loves this stuff. Comment down below, like, share, and subscribe. And I'll be back tomorrow with even more DCEU Daily. See you again soon.